So, as they said, my name is John Howland. From America. So first and foremost, really want to thank ET. This has been a great summit. Personally, I've learned a lot, and I hope you guys have too. So, as we get started, when you guys think about manufacturing, in your minds, what do you think about? Here I have a photo just to sort of get us started. When I think about manufacturing, I think about robots and very advanced tools, all of which have come to play in the last 5 to 10 years. Now, in all of your minds, I want you to think about communication. If you were to try to send a note to your friend, a message to your spouse, would you write a letter? Probably not. You'd probably just message them on WhatsApp. Now I want you to do the same exercise, but I want you to think about construction. In your minds, what do you think about when you think about construction? I think of something like this. Something that is very manual, still paper-based, and hasn't really had the opportunity to take advantage of a lot of the advancements that we all take for granted. We all have phones, we all have these really amazing things, and construction still hasn't had the opportunity to take advantage of those things. Here is a graph from the McKinsey Global Institute. At the near top of the graph are utilities, and I had that circle there for you. What does this mean? It means that utilities historically have been on the forefront of taking advantage of technology. And you can think about that because utilities are always trying to cut costs, do things at scale, and be safe. Unfortunately, what do you see at the bottom of that list? Construction. So construction has not had the opportunity to take advantage of all the things that we take for granted. And so this is where Locusview fits in. So this again is an example of what a typical construction workflow looks like. And when I say typical, what I mean is this is the case in India, in America, in Brazil. This is not unique to any one country. On the left is the pre-field. All this information is coming in a very digital way, right? We have these great systems, IBM, SAP, Esri, GE. They make these great job packets. But then what happens? They print them out. They print out these digital job packets, hand them to somebody in the field, and expect a field user to write in all this information and do their job and do it on time and be safe. And then all that information is typically given back from the hand drawing, transcribed, and tried to put back into the system. It's this weak part in the middle. So give a little bit of overview of myself. My name is John Howland. I'm a technical solutions consultant for Locusview. As I said, I live in America, but I really appreciate the opportunity to travel here to India. I would like to say that India and America are much more similar than you might think. The biggest difference I have noticed so far is that your food is a lot better. So what is Locusview? So Locusview is a digital construction management platform where we give the ability to digitize that middle process, that paper-based construction process that is really behind the times. So who we are, this got washed out a bit, but we are primarily in the United States right now. But as I said, this problem is a global problem. This problem is not a United States and not in India. We are operating now on 4 different continents. because this problem is everywhere. We've seen really big growth. That's great, but the big thing you need to know is that this is not a problem we're trying to solve in America. This is a problem we're trying to solve globally. So in the past, let's think about large-scale projects. As we've heard throughout this entire summit, India has some fascinating things going on, but the problem we're going to have to deal with is scale. We need to do things in a big way. So I'm going to talk about 3 problems that tend to happen when working on construction projects at scale. The first problem is no visibility. And so I'm going to use a use case study from BPCL. When you have these large-scale projects, you have no idea what's going on. You hand a bunch of paper to construction workers, and you hope for the best. Second big problem, over budget. Very common to make a plan, check it twice, and then realize you are millions or billions of rupees over budget. Last problem, late. So this is where the projects tend to almost always go late. You give it a month, it takes 2 months. And so we're going to talk about, for that last one, a large-scale utility based in the United States. So for the first one, no visibility, BPCL. They had a 300-kilometer pipeline that they wanted to build, and they were sick and tired of having no idea what was going on in the field. They couldn't shift resources. If one project was running ahead, the other one was behind, they had no idea. So they reached out to Locusview. So what did we do? I have my laser pointer here. So the biggest thing that they saw problems with is their paperwork. And the biggest issue that, of course, they have with their paperwork is their pipe books. And I talked about that, the difficulty of taking information collected in the field and getting it into a back-end system. Because we were able to digitize their process, they saw their data transfer go from months to days. They were able to automate their reports, whereas before, in the past, it would be somebody in the back office working late, writing down those reports. Now it's a computer with the press of a button. And they were able to get all this visibility in real time. Log onto your computer Monday morning. How are we doing with that pipeline? Click. Much, much better. Next piece, over budget. This comes from a contractor in the United States where they were told by their utility that they must collect this high fidelity data, this really high level data. They need to know exactly what's going in the ground. Same problem. They realized that if they were to do this, it would require 2, 3, 4 different people to just sit around a job site and collect information. So they reach out to Locusview. Can digitizing our large-scale projects make us more efficient? Absolutely. So they saw huge, huge time savings where before the closeout process would take months, weeks. Now they're seeing it in days. The ability to digitize your workflow is what is going to allow you to scale these large projects. Last piece, late. This one happens all the time. So here we had a large utility in the United States, similar to some of the large utilities you have here, and they were really tired of having all their projects run late. They did an investigation. Why is everything running late? It's the paperwork. It's the project creation. It's printing out pieces of paper, handing it to somebody in the field, and hoping to get it back one day. They reached out to us, and we were able to decrease their time between when the information is collected in the field to getting it to a back-end system by 70%. The other big piece that we built into their system are business rules. What this means is that when somebody collects a piece of information, in the past, if they were very good at their job, they would collect a lot. But what the problem is you get a couple bad apples, a couple people who aren't doing what they should be doing, and they don't collect the right information, or they don't collect anything at all. And so again, because we're digitizing this process, they're able to incorporate the rules of the utility itself into the platform so that everyone's collecting the right information. And again, just looking at that scale there on the right side of the screen, I mean, this is the kind of scale that India is going to do or is doing now, but they were able to digitize the process. Okay, so I'm going to jump to a demo here. This is going to be on my computer. It's a little bit on the fly, so we'll see how it works. All right, so I'm just going to project my tablet here. And while I'm doing this, all right. So one of the things that we also talk a lot about is in this digitization process, it's important to know that every utility does things a little bit differently. The way we like to talk about it is everyone does the same thing differently. So it's also important to know that, again, with the digitalization of the process, it allows for a lot of flexibility. All right, so I'm going to do this two-handed. I've been training for this for months. All right, so this is what somebody might look at when they first get into the application. They know exactly what they need to do. There isn't any question about it. My work orders. I'll jump in. They're able to see all the information about the job, whereas before, they'd have to keep track of 4, 5, 6 different pieces of paper. Maybe they get lost. Maybe you didn't pick up the right ones. You can keep track of all of this on a digital format. You can get driving directions. You can get your permits right there on the tablet. You don't have to keep track of it. If I wanted to capture an asset, again, before, maybe you would know it's going in the ground, maybe you wouldn't. Now you have the ability to create lists of materials that are pre-designed for the job itself. If somebody goes off this list, they're going to get an automatic alert. Hey, John, you went off the list. Are you sure? They're going to press one button for an electric fusion coupling, for example. All the information about that coupling comes through. And then you can put in conditional questions. So I want the crews to know how deep it was buried? Yes. And then they can go in, easily map the process. Let's say the coupling goes near the edge of the building. Map it, save. That was about 4 clicks of a button. Anyone can do it. You don't need a surveyor. You don't need to spend months on training. You can hand this to a construction worker, and they can collect that high-fidelity data, collect that on a cloud-based server so that you have that real-time visibility. Same thing with forms. You have the ability to digitize all your forms so that when the folks in the field are collecting this work, they know exactly what they need to do. All this information, I'll jump to my computer here again. All this information is then shown on a cloud-based server so that if I'm in the back end, I know exactly what I did for the day. I can click on these. I can get asset level information, exactly what was collected. I can see those alerts. And again, it gives you that real-time visibility. This is not possible with paperwork. This is not possible with an antiquated system from 10 years ago. This is taking advantage of the technology that we all use now. I'll jump back to my presentation. Here. Okay. So how do we solve this problem? We digitize it. And this is an end-to-end digitization where, again, talking about at scale, we're able to take those digital job packets with a click of a button. We can create and assign 10, 100, 1,000 work orders. Whereas before, you'd literally have to print these out and have the printer running all night. Now we can create and assign them, and all that information goes to a back-end system digitally. You don't have to keep track of things. So in the past, no visibility. We saw that with BPCL. They went with Locusview so they could see exactly what was going on with their pipeline. Over budget, you're now in the past, you had to pay somebody to keep track of things. Now a construction worker in a very easy to use system can collect all that information themselves. Late, now you can keep track of things with a click of a button on your computer. So today, large-scale projects, complete transparency, cloud-collected data visible immediately. Under budget, you can now have fewer workers be able to collect more data than you ever have in the past, and on schedule. You're getting that real-time tracking and updates on a cloud-based server. So, to conclude, I hope that, I almost made the clock. I hope that when you think of manufacturing, you think of technology. When you think of communication, you think of technology. And I hope after my talk today, when you think of construction, you think of technology. Thank you.